Oh, K-pop! Dang! We're really diversifying here. We're really diversifying. I think, what was it? If you read my SAO, or crossing field, description, like one of the reasons why, well, so my roommate and I started getting into J-pop and K-pop around the same time. Sorry, I clicked off. We started listening to J-pop and K-pop as a meme, right? Like last year, and then K-pop did not stick. We listened to a whole bunch of Twice, and then we started listening to Lisa, and then Lisa stuck, and that's why I'm a weeb now. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, let's take a listen. Dude, you're a pro. You don't need me to critique. So I was saying maybe a little bit more of a pull there, but with the, sorry, I can't play by ear. I'll just stick to K-pop. Love Twice. What is love? EXO. Okay, dude, my crush in 7th grade tried to get me into EXO, and I think that's why she said no. No, I'm kidding. I didn't get into EXO in 7th or 8th grade, and and that's why I got rejected. No, I'm kidding. It was okay. It's okay. But first off, I think the voicing is really nice, right? But second, I think it's like one of the problems with even actually, this is one of the few things that when I listen to animens, did I give it a shot? EXO, I didn't give a fair shot. I gave Twice. I'll still pull up Twice and A-Pink every once in a while, but like, you know, my playlist is now all anime. But anyways, I was gonna say, did I give it a shot? Did I ask her? No, I think, okay, so what happened in 8th grade? I think I confessed, and then she was like, I don't like you. And I was like, oh, rip. And then like 4 months later, I was like, I've moved on, right? And then she's like, hey, I like you. I'm like, why are you telling me this now? It's too late. Like, that's not how it works. And it was like, man, like the fattest rip. Yo, Colin, you should write a song about this. You should write a song about this. Yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster. I was like, wow, should I double down and see if this is actually gonna play out? But at that point, I was too committed to, like, you know, something else. You can call this song, what was it? What was that song you wrote, like Jane or something? You can call this like Jane 2. Yeah, she was Korean. I got you. Okay. Which is why she tried to get me into EXO. And she was a complete fan of EXO. But anyways, getting back to your playing Yay. This is actually one of the few things that I hear with like animens is playing too that I'm like, I don't agree with entirely, but I see why it's not done better in a high pressure situation, and that I myself cannot do very well. Korean girls. Korean and Japanese girls, man. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, the middle, when you move the voice into middle, because you're playing with the thumb, right? Typically you're playing even when you're interchanging. So let me play this. Yeah, because it's a bit more thumb heavy, right? It comes out a little bit more like too strong, right? It's slightly too strong. And articulation is like slightly too heavy, and that's just something that, I mean, you probably hear in your own playing. I feel like yeah, I'm not talking to you about like things to fix. I'm talking to you about like preferences, right? At this point, like we want to talk about Masterclass, like WattKeys Masterclass. This is Masterclass, man. This is Masterclass time. Like, yeah. So I think that's just something to notice, right? Because it sounds like you've got the voice down, but or the level down, but it's not phrased, right? It's like da 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 da. But yeah, sub to Ye, even though Ye hides his sub, so we don't know how well he's doing. Kind of like Fonzie. But anyways, yeah, just make sure that it's phrased as well, right? Like what was it in Tabi no Tachu, like Animez's cover of Tabi no Tachu. Yeah. Dum da da da. What was it in the second verse? Like, yeah, his when he plays it, because he's like dum da 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 da. I can't play it anymore because it's been too long since I worked on it. And I don't remember the notes. But as he does the arpeggios and he jumps, right? He lands always slightly heavy, and so it's something that I guess everyone needs to think about. At least heavy to my taste. So. I feel like that part can be stretched a little bit more, and when you, right, this can be a little bit more of a question, right? It sounds to me like it's still too much of the same, sorry, how do I say? Same volume, right? It sounds like da da dum. I feel like you can drop it just a little bit more, like especially, right? And as you come up on that with a little bit of wrist, so that it's like there's even more da da dum, right? And it makes the pull a little bit more conducive as well. So yeah. Okay, so da 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 da, right? But then this is something that I love when you do da dum, right? Let me go back so right, that little chromatic sequence. I think it's like one of those things that you can just highlight real quick, right? So basically you have da 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 da, right? Like this is the level, right? And then you have the bass like da da da, like you do the jumps into the slight arpeggios, but then that little like da da dum, right, can almost like real quick da da dum, right, and add a little bit more. So it's like almost like a voice that's popping in, right? There's like da da dum, like hey, real quick, I got something to say, and I don't know, that might be kind of cute, right? Add a little bit more articulation on those. But that's just typically how I hear things. Even with like what. Yeah, there we go. Like, I love these, right? So yeah, it's almost like these little movements can create like another hey, like da da dum. It is like a boy band, right? Like the person singing is like ah, and then everyone else is like you know. Just like a K-pop group, Anyways. The leg flip, I like that. But I think there you were losing a little bit, right? It sounds like, I think losing the melody a little bit. It sounds like it looks like you're twisting your hand a little to get some articulation onto the chord. You're coming from above. Oh, whole bunch of deleted comments. I see you, yay. Trying to run. No, I'm kidding. But so this section here, da 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 dum, right? I think that this can be a little bit more, how to say, played a little bit more sweetly, almost like dolce, right? Almost like a cantabile or a dolce, right? Like really, this is where it gets a little bit hard to describe something that's abstract, like how a touch is, right, on the keys, but really, like sing those notes and be like, because you're repeating them again, and you do this rightly, right? You're playing this at like a mezzo forte, and then the next time it repeats, you're playing up at a forte and it becomes more percussive, right? So you want to create even bigger, or I think you want to create a bigger contrast between the two by playing this really sweet, and then you got the percussiveness, which adds the energy, right, to what you're playing right now. feel like when you make those jumps, when you jump, if you stick a second longer or half a second longer instead of, because even though you have time, you're just jumping straight back up to the top, right? I would say stick a second longer and make it feel a little bit more solid, because it literally sounds like you're like, right? It sounds like that, even with the pedal, which the pedal helps a lot to smooth it out. But I would stick a little bit longer, half a second longer, and then use that as a spring to jump back up directly onto the next note, so that you're, and probably a technical comment, right, is don't jump as high, jump to the, like, directly to the next note. It's not necessarily thinking about shortest distance, right, because you want some articulation from a little bit of the height, but jump directly to the next note. Like spring off your fingers, I don't know if you can see, spring off your fingers onto the next note, instead of jumping up, waiting, and then crashing onto the next note because you're holding yourself up here. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. And do you work your audio in a DAW as well? Because if you do, I think you want to cut like a little bit around like 5K or so, like 3 to 7K. You want to cut a little bit there, because your piano sounds a little bit like tinny. It sounds a little bit tinny. So you want to cut like maybe like 2 to 3 decibels to start, and just see how it sounds, right? Unless you're doing something different already. But since this is, an older video. Again, it's hard to control the jumps, right? And so you are landing a little bit heavy, and so it's something that, I mean, this is, again, to be mindful of, and not and to try and practice. But if it comes out this way when you're recording, you can't help it. So, I like this cross hands. This is too high tech. Was it really necessary? Was it really necessary? I feel like that wasn't necessary. But maybe it was if I go back. Yeah, so I feel like the cross there is not great because, sorry. Right, it's harder to control this da 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 because you want to feel da 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 da, right? And so when you're crossing, because you're landing on the thumb and your hands are in awkward positions, and because they're in awkward positions, you're playing heavier. It's harder to make this while playing, and I guess that's the trade-off, right? If you're right-handed, I'm assuming that you're right-handed, because, most people are right-handed. Sorry, dude. My bad. This is what you signed up for. But if you're right-handed, yeah, sure, it makes sense, because it's easier to, like, phrase that, right? But I think the trade-off between having these and having to practice this a little bit more is not great. So it's not something that I would do. So that's just my comment. Because at first I was like, dude, cross hands because it's cool. But then I was like, wait, hold on. He didn't actually need to do that. So, anyways, continue. I like that rhyme. It sounded a little bit like heavy, right? Because you were on the thumb, I think. Okay, so I can't tell if you're playing the whole octave here, so if your hand is stretched out. But like, if you can, try switching between like the first and second fingers, just because it helps a little bit with, like, instead of playing each note by having to rotate your hand and wrist like this, which creates a heavier tone, and like something that's like more like staccato and like aggressive. Yes, thumb too strong. Exactly, that's the problem. So, and also you can, I guess, once you get up there, when you have to work on something, you can play faster if you're switching fingers. So yeah, so 1, 2, right, would probably work a little bit better. And try to control this when you're making that jump as well. Ooh, the lift. Yeah, okay, so I actually really like that because let me hear it again. You've got the bass notes like standing out, like right, like those are standing out in the pedal, and I don't know, is standing out as well. But then you're right, whatever pattern you're playing is like right beneath, and it's one of those patterns that feels like, again, right, it doesn't need to have like a musical direction, or not musical direction. It doesn't need to have like a melody. It's just like texture, and you're playing it like perfectly right on that like last layer with the arpeggios and creating that texture by having that like tremolo, right? So, good job, good job. We're not only dishing out punishment here. We got praise as well. This is the most convoluted praise sandwich you've ever seen. Here's something to think about when you're starting to play like these fortes, right? Don't just come from above. I think adding a little bit of a push in would help a little bit, like especially when you land on a note, right? So of course these ones, right? You can't just how do I say? You can't push in for each one. So above, right? Like maybe a little bit of wrist, like almost like a sorry, like kind of like that. But when you land on this note, in order to give it a little bit more articulation and a little bit more, I keep using weight and articulation, but that's exactly the sounds that I'm going for. So it's like pushing in at a 45-degree angle, right? And sometimes even, or when I play this, like for example, every time I play Chopin Ballade in G minor, when we get to, like I don't know if you can see, but my fingers physically slide into the keys a little bit, right? Like slightly. And that's how much I'm pushing like into the keys like this with my body even, right? So it's like a bit of like deciding, right? Am I going so fast, or is this something that I can sit on and that can add even body weight into, or is this something that's just arm, or is this going so fast that I can't even add arm, and it's all coming from the wrist and the fingers? And so I think for some of these notes you can add a little bit of weight from the arm to help with the dynamics. Dum, right? That one, dum, can go in a little bit. So again, like from instead of coming from above like this, which is what's happening, right? And so you're losing control, which is why like really hard. Instead of coming from above and jumping so high, go straight to the note and go in instead. Push in, and again, you know, the whole thing with velocity curves. I don't know if it's really that much different on a keyboard like this, but it'll help you control at the very least how loud you're playing. And on a real instrument, I think I would say the resonance, the tonality is slightly different, right? Because it's not hitting the hammers. The hammer's not hitting the strings as sharply, and the mutes aren't coming up as quick. So, anyways, but think about putting a little bit, of weight instead of coming from above. This is the difference, I think. Actually, when I was growing up and learning, right, teacher was always like, never come from above. Never, ever come from above. Because when you come from above and you don't know what you're doing, it has a tendency to turn out harsh, right? On a real piano, on an acoustic instrument, it sounds really harsh, right? Like you're slamming the instrument. And on like electric pianos, it sounds like the attack just jumps up real quick, like the velocity, like the attack of the note is, if we're talking about the sound envelope, it goes up real quick, and then it's like, where's the decay, right? And it's like immediately decays down, and it's just like you just sustain, and it's like it doesn't matter. It sounds bad there too. But I mean, if you watch Anime's videos, you know he comes from above, but he's coming from above because he's practiced how to get the sound that he wants, get the articulation that he wants, that he can only get from coming above. And even being slammy at times, right? In his Gurenge cover, he's got the, right, like that part where he just like slams his hand against the piano like this a whole bunch. And that's exactly what he's looking for, which is why he's able to do, is okay doing it, but you're not looking for that sound here. You want something that's like louder, more forte, and more emphasized, but not something that's like harsh and articulate, like, bam, right? So, push in. So, anyway. Slightly disagree with that. Like, I feel like that shouldn't be so loud, but like that's your jurisdiction, I think. I wouldn't go like the way I would play is softer. I would brush off the key like that. I don't know if you can see, but I would brush off the key instead like that. But that's just, if that's the sound you're going for, then that's fine. Yo, Dwadify, what up? Thanks, man. I haven't gotten a haircut in like 2 months, and so this was really needed. Yeah, dude, did you just join? Because we're reviewing playing. This is a masterclass I'm teaching, I guess, because people want to hear me talk about piano. But anyways, we'll continue. Ah, nice. The transition back into delicate. Yeah, ringing bell sound. I think controlling the brush would help with that ringing bell sound, right? So if you, like, this is hard to control. Again, coming from above gives a certain articulation and a certain sound, but it's hard to control that until you've practiced it a lot. So again, I would construct the sound that you're going for. Practice, like when you're going for this in the future, or these different sounds in the future, practice from the key first, right? Like, how can I do that with my hand on the key, or like just a little bit above? And then after you try those things, okay, maybe I can't do it with just finger. How do I add a little bit of arm? Does that work? No. How do I add a little bit of body if I can? So, okay, I can't add body here. What am I going to do? Does this brushing technique work? No. Does pushing in work? No. Okay, then I'm going to try from coming up from above, right? Coming from above is like the last thing that you're going for, because again, you have the least control. So, yo, thanks for joining, DWatt. It's much appreciated. So, anyways, continuing. Like, I can hear da da da, and I'm like vibing, and you can also, right? Like those coming up and down. So all just going, and it's like, man, that's really good layering, man. Like, I hear more than one voice. I hear more than one voice, and it's all like meshing together, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're looking for. The coveted Animan's 3-hand technique coming through. But yeah, just you know, the only thing that I'll say about this is that, oh, okay, my mic audio is getting overpowered. This is all good. I'm not talking over the video that much anyways, but, and we're about to end the video, or this video. But anyways, the only part is when you're going into it, it sounded like you didn't have much direction, right? From where you're, how do I say? You didn't have a clear idea what tempo you wanted to hit, right? Because the bridge was a different tempo, and you like kind of ritordandoed into it, which is fine. So, 2 things that you could possibly do, right? What I enjoyed was, at first it sounded like you were actually building up into the tempo, and then you waffled after you got to the tempo, which indicated to me that you weren't building up to the tempo, you just couldn't find it at first. But I think building up to the tempo might work here a little bit at the beginning. I'm not gonna rewind it because I don't know what exact spot, or you can find the tempo from right out. But anyways, you got the tempo, and the vibe, the groove was there from the start, right? Which hid a lot of the inconsistency, which is good. Like, yeah. Yeah, perhaps a little bit. This can be a little bit like, you can how do I say, vary the dynamic a little bit, like, right? Like, maybe one of them stronger than the others or whatever, right? And have, again, like the bell, right? Thinking about the bell sound. This is the first bell, and the other ones are just echoes. And obviously not with that much articulation, but right, and yeah. But anyways, same thing here. Japanese instead of Korean or English. But yeah, no, that was really good. That was really good, dude. I think yeah, I mean, you know this, right? You're a veritable pro. The technique's all there, right? Subarashi, exactly, subarashi. The technique's all there, except maybe some of the stuff from the control of coming from above. But like, yeah, just work a little bit more coming from the keys, and some like small like musical elements that maybe I would think about. Just watch out for when you move the voice into the middle, like how you're phrasing that voice in the middle. Yeah, it's most important thing, right? Keep it on top, which is what you're doing. But then beyond that, perhaps build some more phrasing into that, or at least with the practice. And yeah, that's about it, man. Like, it was really good. That's all I gotta say. I'm impressed. Sugoi. Sugoi. Sugoi.